Before entering to in this course DP900 certification, do you know that why there is a certain exponentially growth in the demand for data professionals? Because there is a exponentially growth for data. And it is said that by 2025 you're going to have 163 zettabyte of data over the internet. And do you know what is zettabyte? 1 zettabyte means 1 million gigabyte. Data is the biggest superpower in this present times. Data is the oil. Some says it's a gold of 21st century. So those companies who will be really able to use data well, and bring up some insight out of it, and take advantage of it, those companies are going to lead the competition. That's why we have growing number of demand of data professionals. Whether they are data engineers, or data scientists, or data analysts. Data engineers are responsible for preparing the base, you can say foundation, that data scientists use for their work. Data scientists are responsible to analyze the data, they identify the patterns and trends, to deliver the recommendation for future. And data analysts analyze the data to summarize the past data in visual form. For these all roles, Microsoft has role-based certifications. If you want to go into security, you can take AZ500. Or if you want to be a developer, you can take AZ203. If want to be an infrastructure guy, you can take AZ104. If want to be an architect, you can go for AZ303 and AZ304. Similarly, Microsoft has role-based, data-related profiles. DP200, DP201 is for data engineer, now these two are clubbed in DP203 certification. So you no need to give 2 exams, you can give only 1 exam DP203, Data Engineer Associate Certification. DP300, if you want to be a data administrator, you can take DP300, Azure Database Administrators. Similarity, if you want to be a data scientist, you can take DP100, called Azure Data Scientist. But DP900 is right certification you are looking for. This is the fundamental of all these certifications. So this is the starting point, after that you any of these certification or all of these certifications. Once you will have DP900 certification, this is Azure Data Fundamentals. You will get this badge, you can use this on your professional social media platform, like LinkedIn profile. Also, you can use this on your resume. That will be helpful to find the job in the field of data, or Azure data, more specifically. To learn DP900, you have to study 4 modules. I have sorted down all these in the slides, where you will study. First, Code Data Concepts, where you have to study about basics of data concept, like type of data, how we process data, analytics and visualization of data, called reports. In second module, you will learn about relational database on Azure, basics of relational database and what Azure Cloud offer related correspondings. In third module, you will learn about non-relational database on Azure, here you have to study about basics of non-relational database and its correspondings offered by Azure. In fourth module, you have to study about analytics workload on Azure, here you have to understand data analytics and its offering by Azure. Now let's understand the skills measured by each module, means weightage, by each module. How many questions, means what percentage of questions come into exam, from each module. So, you can see here, 25 to 30% questions come, from first module, from Code Data Concepts. And 20 to 25% comes from relational data on Azure, second module. From third module, you can see here, 15 to 20% questions asked from non-relational data on Azure. From the last module, its fourth module, 25 to 30% questions come from analytics workload. Now come into more detail. Let's understand what exactly is expected from each module. So, from first module, core data concepts which cover 25 to 30% of weightage, we have to study about the ways to represent data, where you have to cover features of structured data, features of semi-structured data, features of unstructured data, and you have to learn to identify the options for data storage, where you will cover common formats for data files and types of databases. Then you have to cover common data workloads, in which you have to study the features of transactional workloads and the features of analytical workloads. And in last you have to identify roles and responsibilities for data workloads. Here you have to describe responsibilities for database administrators. You have to describe responsibilities for data engineers and responsibilities for data analysts. Now come into second module, relational data on Azure, which cover 20 to 30% of course material. Here you have to describe relational concepts, where you have to identify features of relational data. Then how to describe normalization and why it is used. Then, you have identify common structured query language, SQL, statements, and common database objects. Here you have to understand how we describe relational Azure data services on cloud. In more detail, describe the Azure SQL family of products, including Azure SQL Database and Azure SQL, and managed instance on Azure, and SQL Server on Azure virtual machines. In last, identify Azure database services for open source database systems. Now come to third module, where we will describe considerations for working with non-relational data on Azure. This module cover 15 to 20% in the course. Here you have to describe the capabilities of Azure Storage. What is Azure Blob Storage, and how we use. Then we will understand about Azure File Storage and its usage. And later, we will go through with Azure Table Storage and how we use this. In this module, we will see the capabilities and features of Azure Cosmos DB also. We will learn to identify the use cases for Azure Cosmos DB. And what is Azure Cosmos DB APIs, and how we use this. Now come to last module, here we will learn about Analytics Workload on Azure. This will cover 25 to 30% weightage of DP900. Here we will describe common elements of a modern data warehouse. This is an important thing if you are planning your career in data. We have to understand considerations for data ingestion and processing, different options for analytical data stores, and types of Azure services for data warehousing, including Azure Synapse Analytics, Azure Databricks, Azure HD Insight, and Azure Data Factory. Then again, we have to describe consideration for real-time data analytics. Learn difference between batch and streaming data. Numbers of technologies for real-time analytics, including Azure Stream Analytics, Azure Synapse Data Explorer, and Spark Structured Streaming. And in last, how we do data visualization in Microsoft Power BI. We will identify the capabilities of Power BI, different features of data models in Power BI, and appropriate visualizations for data. So to pass the DP900 certification, we have to cover all these modules. If you are fresher, you have to spend 10 to 12 dedicated hours, and if you already working in data, SMP side, you can cover these topics in 5 to 6 hours. This is an easy exam and great starting point, if you want to make your career on cloud data. I will share the URL of Microsoft authorized site, where you can find all this information and content to prepare for this exam. Good luck guys, happy learning.